So, students, in the morning we spoke about man is a transitional being, he is not final. And we spoke at length, almost an hour, hour and a half. Would somebody like to summarize what they've understood?
Ma'am Kumar Samiksh. Ma'am, we learned that the man is a transitional being. He will evolve into a better being, into a luminous being with power, bliss, and love.
Light,
Light.
love,
Yes, ma'am.
power, and bliss.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Eventually, he will accept the Shakti's whisper to evolve. It will be his decision to make his destiny.
Beautiful. Very, very well said. Kumar Samiksh very beautifully said that man is a transitional being. He is not final. But to take the next leap forward into the next stage of evolution, one has to, human beings have to make a conscious decision. Conscious decision to collaborate with that Shakti, collaborate with that executrix force, collaborate with Chit Shakti, right? That is the supreme force. How do you think this world is running? I mean, this whole world, the planets don't move from their orbit. They go around, but they remain in their orbit. Our body is so beautifully designed, so perfect. Just look at our body, the circulatory system, digest. Who's done it? There must be some supreme creatrix. And she is the evolutionary force. She is the Shakti of God. And what do we need to do? Is to collaborate with her. How do we collaborate with her? Can somebody tell me that 5-second magic?
Ma'am, we have to invite God into us.
Yes, we have to invite God, the creatrix force, into us. And that's the 5-second magic that we have to do. How many times a day? 4 times is the silence. That also we'll talk about. Many, 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 many times a day. Right? Whatever we are doing, good, bad, ugly, everything we invite that force. Right? Clear?
Ma'am Rohan Srivastav, ma'am, he told that the perfect being is God. So, ma'am, a perfect being is grateful to everybody. So, ma'am, the perfect being, has given us a chance to improve. So, ma'am, that's why a man is a transitional being and he's not final.
Very good. And but what did we say? We said that what has Satprem said? This is not the time for. Who can give me that quotation? This is not the time for. Yes, Saransh?
Ma'am, this is the time for something else which is not the same thing with improvements.
Exactly. This is not an improvement we are talking about. We are not talking about a very brilliant mind, a sage in the vital, and a very healthy and perfect body. We are talking of something else. What are we talking of? Come on, give it to me in one sentence. What are we talking of? We have to evolve into luminous beings of light, love, power, and bliss. And that luminous being will be as different from man as man is different from the ape. It's a new species we are talking about. Who all want to collaborate with this creatrix, supreme creatrix force to do that? To let that happen in their life? Yes, now by this second session is for what? To learn what has God given us in our body that can help us to collaborate, right? The second part of my paper is for those who have chosen to collaborate consciously with the evolutionary force. All right? You all are interested? Okay. Now, to expound on the process of collaboration. So, if we have to expound the process of collaboration, कि हम कैसे collaborate करें, then it would go into very lengthy expositions. But we have to put everything in brief. So, Sri Aurobindo is a master of brevity. Brevity is something that you're very brilliant. You're able to put what you have to say in a brief statement. But otherwise, what we do is we go into long, descriptive and point ढूंढते रहते हैं कि भैया क्रक्स क्या है, क्रक्स बताओ. Brevity is the soul of wit. Yes. So now let's, in the synthesis of yoga, where Sri Aurobindo formulates the whole concept of life in utter brevity. Utter brevity. All life is yoga. Now look at the brief statement. What a wide pan he has caught in 4 words. What does this mean? Can somebody explain to me? All life is yoga. What does yoga mean? What word does yoga come from?
I'm Advika Srivastav, 9A.
Huh?
Yoga is an anglicized form of yog, which is adding. So, life is basically adding qualities, adding experiences, adding things that you keep learning each and every day. Our life is made up of experiences which we keep adding, knowledge that we keep adding, which takes us from ignorance to knowledge, which is a
Who
motto
told
of
you
our
that
soul.
yoga, first of all, it's yoga, as you said rightly. Who has told you that the meaning of yoga is adding? I don't think that's a correct meaning of yoga.
Ma'am, we did a session
With
a
whom?
long time ago. That's when we were
No,
told
no, no.
yoga is adding.
That's not the root
Joining
word.
or adding.
Joining.
Joining.
So joining is different from adding. Right? When you join, of course, you'll add something. But yog comes from the Sanskrit root yuj. Yuj means to connect, to join. All right, Advika? Have you understood? Okay, so now what is Sri Aurobindo saying here? He's saying all life is yoga. What could that mean? All life is yoga. What does that mean? Yes?
Ma'am, it means that we need to devote our whole life connecting with God.
Yes, that 5 second magic we have to do in every activity of our life. Every activity of our life we have to yoga. Yoga means to unite. In every, even पानी पी रहे हैं, 1 सेकंड लगता है, किसी को पता भी नहीं चल रहा है, मेरे अंदर से मैं अपने आत्मा से बोल रही हूँ, आई ऑफर दिस वाटर टू यू, आई एम ड्रिंकिंग यू. कितना टाइम लगा? 2 सेकंड. So it's, we are calling it, the Jaipuria students will call it the 5 second magic. When he says all life is yoga, he's meaning everything we do has to be united with God, with the creatrix force. Now look at the second line. He says, all life must be taken up, but all life must be transformed. So if we are uniting with God in everything we are doing, what is the conscious decision we have taken? Being Jaipuria students, what is the conscious decision? School of? So all life is yoga, so everything we do, we unite. So all life is yoga, so everything we do, we unite with God. And when we unite with God, what do? We take a conscious decision, because it is our burning aspiration that we want to consciously transform everything in us, and we want to become the supramental being, the luminous beings of light, love, power, and bliss. And these 4 collaborate with wisdom, strength, harmony, and perfection. And this wisdom, strength, harmony, and perfection are the 4 Shaktis. Who are those? Maheshwari, wisdom. Then Mahakali, strength. Then Mahalakshmi, harmony. And Mahasaraswati, perfection. You think this universe can be run just like that? The Big Bang happened and da-da-da-da-da, everything is happening perfectly. Or somebody is, even if I take out my watch and I tell you, अरे ये तो Big Bang हुआ और ये घड़ी बन गई. Will you believe it? You'll say somebody must have designed it. Somebody must have thought of a vision, and then somebody must have executed it. So how can this perfect, beautiful world just happen just like that? Right? Okay? So from the most important to the most mundane thing, all life is yoga, all life must be taken up, but all life must be transformed. Now, to bring about this transformation, we need to unite. We need to collaborate. We've been saying this again and again. Collaborate with Shakti, Chit Shakti, evolutionary force. You don't want to give a a Hindi name, call it the evolutionary force, right? So now the traditions in India, they are they've systematized all the knowledge. So much knowledge has been all systematized and turned into a science. Even if you have to buy a horse, you can go to that part of the literature where they've systematized the knowledge of how to buy a horse, what, and those who have studied that science, they know they can look at a horse and say कि उसकी ये बीमारी है, just by looking at it without doing anything. This is the kind of science that has evolved out of all the wisdom of India. Now, the science of consciousness also has evolved. It's beautifully, it's a vast subject. So, what I'll do is that I'll just pick up the salient points, the science of transformation, and we'll put it all together. And as I said in the morning, I'm repeating myself again. When we take one step towards Shakti, or that force takes 100 steps towards us to help us to collaborate. And what does she do when we offer to Shakti our aspiration? Then she will open so many doors for us. So now here is what our traditions have told us. Our traditions have told us that there are two levers of change within us. ये बात हुई थी ना, करें कैसे? तो उसका आंसर आज मिलेगा. There are two levers of change in the human being. What are those two levers of change? One is the mind or buddhi, and one is the psychic entity or soul. Today morning we talked in detail what the soul is, right? Now let us first dwell on the mind. The mind has been called in the Taittiriya Upanishad as Manomaya Prana Sharira Neta. Manomaya Prana Sharira Neta. What does it mean? That the mind is the leader of the vital and the physical being. Why is the mind the leader of the physical and vital being?
Because it is the control center of
Yes, it is the
human
most
body.
evolved. The physical body, the vital or emotional body, and the mind, out of all these three, the mind is most evolved.
Yes.
Right? What did we say? That the ape had no choice. Which ape will be chosen to turn into a human being? Which ape's body will be used as a laboratory?
Ma'am, which will be interested in being evolved.
Yes, so the ape did not have a choice because its mind was not so evolved. But when the human being evolved out of the ape, then the mind came into place. And once the mind came into place, then the choice is yours. The choice is ours. Who wants to collaborate? Who doesn't want to collaborate? Do you think that all the wisdom of the world is contained in this mind, in this grey matter? Or do you think there is more wisdom beyond this mind? There is more wisdom than what is contained in this mind. Absolutely right. The first thing to realize is that there is a knowledge beyond our normal mental mind. And that this mind is only a faint glimmer of all those higher and higher and higher levels of mind. There are many higher levels of mind that our human mind is accessible, has accessibility to them, but has not yet reached those higher levels of mind. Can somebody tell me what I just said?
Ma'am, you talked about that how our mind is more capable of doing things, and we don't let it do. Ma'am, there's knowledge beyond our mind which we have to grasp when the stage comes when we can grasp.
Yes, so our mind has to become such that the higher and higher levels of mind, we'll talk about the higher levels of mind, that the higher and higher levels of mind are able to percolate, they are able to permeate the mind. We have accessibility to those higher levels of mind, but because nobody has told us about it, so we are very contained in this mind and we think, yahi hai. But those who have understood this, they are able to open their beings and connect to the higher and higher levels of mind. These higher and higher ranges of mind beyond our mind have been named by Sri Aurobindo as, this is the mind, then there is higher mind, then there is illumined mind, then there is intuitive mind, then there is overmind, and finally there is the supermind. We talked about the supramental, that is the supermind. Right? Understood? There are levels and levels of mind. It's not that only Sri Aurobindo spoke about them. Our Vedas have mentioned those minds. Sit down, beta. The Vedas have also spoken about the higher and higher levels of mind. And what did the Vedas call them? Vedas gave them the names of rivers. Can anybody over here guess why the Vedic rishis called them rivers?
Ma'am, my name is Abhyuday Pratap Singh, class 9B. The rishis called them rivers or compared them with rivers because Gyan flows
Very
from a point.
beautiful. Yes. And where do the rivers flow from? Higher regions to
Higher region to lower region.
lower regions. That is the reason the Vedic rishis called these higher levels of mind rivers. And the Vedas have mentioned these minds and given them names Mahati or vastness, Ila or revelation, Saraswati or inspiration, Sarama or intuition, Daksha or Dakshina or discrimination. They've mentioned that there are 7 rivers, but we have found in the Vedas only the name mention of 5 rivers. I don't know why the other 2 rivers could not be found in the Vedas. Maybe we've lost some books or something. So, do you understand? Would you like to read these out? Mahati or vastness, Ila or revelation, Saraswati or inspiration, Sarama or intuition, Dakshina or discrimination. Right? Now, when the mind starts becoming receptive to these higher powers of knowledge, we can gradually and consciously transform and expand our own little mental operation. Right now, what are we performing with? Just this brain. But we have accessibility. Those rivers are anyway flowing downwards. But what do we need to be able to access them? What do we do 4 times a day in the school? Yes, this is the reason we silence our mind 4 times a day in the school. So that when the mind becomes silent, then we will be able to maybe experience these higher and higher levels of mind. And it is not that nobody has ever done that. I'll just give you some examples. See, the human mind is only a small province of the vast knowledge of the universal mind. Intuitive power, for example, can become ours too if we learn to become silently receptive to revelation, inspiration, intuition. But for this, what do we need to do? We need to develop a faith. अगर विश्वास ही नहीं है कि ये higher levels of mind हैं, हमारे को उसके लिए accessibility है, those minds are flowing downward, तो उनके लिए तो there is no opening to those minds. But those of us who have faith that if our Vedic rishis have experienced these minds, if Sri Aurobindo is talking about these minds, that means these minds are there. When we have the faith, then these powers of intuition, revelation, inspiration, they can become ours also. So first of all, we need to develop faith. The power of intuition is not a new phenomena for mankind. Humanity has tapped into this power throughout its moments of genius. I'll give you one example, then you give me examples. What do you think? Has anybody heard of Leonardo da Vinci? What kind of art he would do? At a time when nobody knew he was drawing instruments of warfare. He had never studied warfare. But when he went to the king, he says, I can design for you instruments of warfare which you can't even imagine. They will always win. And he said, I can do this, I can do this. And then he said, you know, sir, your highness, I can also paint. This is what Leonardo da Vinci said. He had such an opening to the higher mind of inspiration and intuition. Who else can you give an example of? Einstein? All of a sudden, Eureka! And he got it. It was a moment of genius.
In the spiritual retreat, ma'am, we had learned about ma'am Ramanujan.
Ramanujan, exactly. What a beautiful example. Ramanujan used to hear all those equations, he used to hear. And he said he would, when the Britishers asked him, where do you get it from? He says, the Shakti just comes and tells, just gives me these and it just flows out of me. He had,
Yes, ma'am. Shri Shraddhalu ji had told us.
yes, very good, excellent. And anybody else, has anybody heard of a good musician who used to get inspiration? Yes?
Ma'am, Tansen.
Tansen, Beethoven, the Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, it was, and there are musicians who have who don't have the power of hearing. They've never heard good music. Who is that musician?
Ma'am, Mozart.
Mozart. And he could hear the music without the power of hearing. And he would write music. If it was not inspiration and intuition, what was it? Right? What about the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita? All these have come from the higher and higher levels of mind.
Ma'am, from a certain age in our lives, ma'am, people have shown us the limit, people have showed us limitations that they say you can't do this, you can't do that. But ma'am, like ma'am, if we learn about the Vedas and ma'am, we do meditation and all the things that you mentioned in this period of time, ma'am, we can go beyond our limitations and
Of
then
the mind. There are no
achieve
limitations.
success.
We are told that we are limited beings. And when we are told, then we just put a dhakkan. We just close the mind. Is
Yes.
that right? Is that the right thing to do?
No, ma'am,
There are
that's
no
not
limitations. Yeah, to human genius, there are no limitations.
Yes, ma'am.
So now let us focus on what do we need to do to receive these higher levels of mind. You know what Albert Einstein has said? See, Albert Einstein has written, we should take care not to make the intellect our God. It has, of course, powerful muscles, but no personality. The intellect has no personality. The only real valuable thing is intuition. These are Einstein's words. I can't say that the mind has no personality. Of course, our personality is formed by the mind. So we can't say manomaya sharira prana sharira neta, what we said, right? So it is not that we don't have a personality, but the real thing is to catch intuition. And for that we can't make a human effort. Who do we have to go to? Who do we have to go to connect to that? Yes. We must collaborate with Shakti, with Chit Shakti or the creatrix force. And once we have acknowledged the operations of this intuitive power of mind, we have to ask ourselves how that power can be made accessible to us. Now, for that, let us see what all we can do in the mind to make our mind accessible, how we can access those higher minds. The mind must become quiet, tranquil, silent, and immobile. Many times a day, we have to take out that moment when we are silencing the mind. Right? We need to develop silence of the mind and clarity of the mind if we aspire to open ourselves to the intuitive level. And it is for this, for achieving this silence of the mind, that the 2 minutes of silence are practiced several times a day in our school, so that our children are led towards receptivity to the higher and higher and higher levels of mind. Right? And this intuitivizing of the mind can be the first step towards the attainment of a consciousness that goes beyond the ordinary human mental consciousness. And though it is not known in great detail, but this much I can tell you for sure, that an unerring guidance and a guidance that does not fail, that does not make mistakes, that kind of a guidance starts taking place in our lives. We notice in our lives, ये चाहा था कि ऐसा हो तो हम एस्पायर कर पाए, अपने आप हो जाता है. एक गुरु चाहिए था, अपने आप that guru has come in our way, on the path, on our path. Unerring guidance starts taking place in our life. When we start silencing our mind and making the mind more and more clear. Now let us discuss the second lever. We'll come back to the mind again. The second lever of the that we have within us, most important lever, is soul or psychic being. Absolutely. The soul or the psychic entity has been called in the Kathopanishad. Who can tell me? Yes, we talked about it in the morning. Angushtamatra means as big, no bigger than the thumb. And what did we say? That little spark, what color is it? Is it a red? White. Yes, it's a white flame, a cool flame. It's a flame and yet it is cool. What is the nature of that flame? Goes upwards. And what is that flame called? It's called the flame of aspiration. What is it called? The flame of aspiration. So if we are aspiring to become, if we are all aspiring to become that perfect instrument of God, if we are aspiring to become perfect instruments of God, who do we have to go to? The soul, because the soul is the flame of aspiration, right? This is the psychic fire in the heart of man. Now, the second step in the process of transformation is to recognize, have faith in that power deep within us. Have faith that that spark within me, which is not bigger than a thumb, our psychic entity, is there and it has a secret relationship with the evolutionary force. This soul has a secret relationship with the creatrix force. Remember the word creatrix force? What verb did it come from? Creation. Yeah, create. It is the one who creates. Now that supreme creatrix force, or Shakti or evolutionary force, call it what you may, this soul or psychic entity or psychic being has a direct relationship with that. So if we want to collaborate, who do we have to go to? To go to the Shakti, who do we go to? We go to the psychic entity or psychic being or the soul. Sometime later, I will tell you the difference between psychic entity and psychic being, not today. Now, this mystic flame or spark is propelling life forms. I told you, I think we've taken the example of Anvi. Anvi, remember that Anvi's soul was first of all given a amount of inconscient. And the soul kept throbbing, pulsating. And Anvi's soul was able to transform that inconscient and matter came out of it. And Anvi's soul went on working, throbbing, pulsating, aspiring. And that matter transformed into life, vegetation. And the soul kept on working, and then there was the mind, the lower animals, the higher animals, the ape. And then Anvi came there. But the soul is continuously working until the physical, the emotional and the mental all become as perfect as God. God became man so that man may become God. This is our journey. So, if we aspire to evolve, and if we aspire to evolve consciously, what do we have to do? We have to learn to concentrate on this light. We have to learn to concentrate on this psychic being, this power, this flame in the center of our heart. Gradually we will start experiencing its living presence there. Abhi to khali words hain. But we have to reach that point where while you're talking, while you're listening, while you're meditating, you can experience the presence. You can experience कि कुछ ठोस यहाँ है. उसका एक्सपीरियंस होना चाहिए. और इस एज में हो गया तो कैन यू इमेजिन कि आप लोग कहाँ पहुँचेंगे इन एवोल्यूशन इफ़ यू स्टार्ट एक्सपीरियंसिंग दैट प्रेजेंस हियर, राइट हियर, inside the center of your heart, just behind. And by inviting it to guide us and transform our mental, vital, and physical being, we will hasten our evolution. Now, let me, to whatever extent it's possible, let me clarify the work of conscious transformation. हम लोग conscious transformation बोलते हैं. But what does conscious transformation mean? Where do we have to consciously transform? What all do we have to consciously transform? What are the three envelopes? Yes, the physical body, the vital or emotional body, and the mental body. These have to be consciously transformed so that the soul can do its work aage, right? So now let us understand what is evolution of mind. Mind ko kya hona hai? Now this is what we have to do for the mind. Submission of the egoistic pride of the mind to the working of Shakti. We come first in class or second in class, or we've beaten somebody. What happens to us straight away? The ego builds up. I am so bright. I always come first. I always answer all the time. That egoistic pride has to be submitted. जब तक यहाँ ego है, तब तक ये collaboration होना थोड़ा difficult है. Right? Everybody's got it? Then we must deepen our awareness inwards. The mind must start deepening its awareness towards the soul, the presence of the psychic being. The third point is, we must lift our mind to dwell on higher and higher objects of knowledge. अभी हम बस बिजी हैं अपने ही रोज़मर्रा के जीवन में, बट इस रोज़मर्रा के जीवन में we can bring in the higher thought, the higher feelings, the higher emotions, and we have to lift our mind to dwell on higher objects of knowledge. And this will lead to a clarity of the mind. This is what we are trying to do in the spiritual retreat. Then what do we have to do? We have to perfect the capacities of the mind. Mind has many capacities, like power of thinking, power of rationalizing, power of collating. When you have so much data, there are some people who are able to collate the data, put it together in a very organized fashion. And for some people, that much data, oh Baba, I can't go through this, yaar, just put it away, it's too much data. But those who are sharpening their minds will not be scared of data or of words. They will look at it, they will analyze it, they will rationalize it, they will collate it, right? And we must chisel the faculty of music, dance, poetry, singing, dancing, all these, because all these will help to amplify our genius, right? And we must take out time daily for silencing the mind. And what does the mind have to become? The mind has to become utterly tranquil, utterly silent, immobile as a pond on a breezeless day. Then from above, as the light of the stars can be seen in the motionless waters, so the light of supermind, the light of intuition will reflect in our mind, will shine in our mind, and we will get accessibility to the higher mind, illumined mind, intuitive mind, overmind, and supermind. This is the process of tapping Shakti, connecting with Shakti in the mental being. This is the work of the house of wisdom. And the goddess of wisdom is Maheshwari. Okay? Now, in the field of karma, what do we have to do? We have to follow the 3 steps of Karma Yoga. Next time I come, should we talk about the Karma Yoga? Should we talk about the 3 steps of Karma Yoga? So we must invoke strength, courage, valor. We must be able to consciously stand for that which is right. Which house am I talking about? Strength. Exactly. We should be able to stand for the right, irrespective of what will happen. I may lose a friend in that. I may incur many losses by taking the side of the right, but we must have the courage, the valor, the strength to stand for the right, for the truth. And the more we invite the power of Shakti in us, the greater will be our response to her. This is the work of the house of Shakti. Right? The goddess of strength is Mahakali. Exactly. Now we are talking about Mahalakshmi, the field of the vital or emotional being. The most purification is needed where? In our vital emotional being. सबसे ज़्यादा impurity वहीं है. What are the impurities of our emotional being? Greed, jealousy, anger, desire. I want more, I want more. So many impurities in our vital being. Pride, so many, selfishness. Now, what do we have to do for our vital being? What do we have to do to our vital being? We have to again channelize the flow of Shakti. To channelize the flow of Shakti, we have to collect the Shakti and dam it, and then we have to learn how to drill Shakti into our vital being, into our heart, into our emotions, into our feelings. जो हमारे अंदर भाव उठते हैं, अभी उठा एक भाव सोचो, एंगर का भाव उठा या जेलसी का भाव उठा, उसी समय शक्ति को बुलाया. एंड वी कैन कॉल शक्ति एंड वी कैन ऑफर कि हमारे अंदर ये आया, ये मैं आपको ऑफर करती हूँ. आई इन्वाइट यू इनटू दिस एंगर. मैं गुस्सा हो चुकी हूँ, बट अभी भी मैं आपको इन्वाइट करती हूँ सो दैट वी कैन रिपेयर दिस. राइट? अंडरस्टूड? So our vital being, our emotional being has to change, has to become wider, has to become deeper, has to become vaster. Then we will be able to flow into Mahalakshmi, the house of harmony. Yes. What happens when we evolve in the vital being? We are able to experience love, harmony, sweetness, oneness, compassion, bhakti. Not only love for God. Acha, I love God, but I don't love anybody else. Is that love for God? If I love God, I will love God in His humanity. He has become all. Right? So that is the wideness of our vital being. It has to become wider and vaster and vaster. That is the evolution of the vital being. Now I come to the most important part, which I have already done in the previous section, and we will repeat it. Sri Aurobindo's yoga also involves the transformation of this physical body. He says this physical body, it still has disease, it still has ill health, it still has so many physical defects, right? But if God has become man, and man has to become God, this body has to become more and more perfect, right? And that, to get that perfection in the physical body, there has to be permeation of the supramental Shakti into the very cells of our body. We talked about the cells of the body. What did we say? The nucleus of every cell is? Who resides in the nucleus of every cell? Shakti. And we talked about how many cells there are. I don't know how many cells there are. Maybe Nautiyalji knows how many cells there are in the body. Trillions and trillions. Here some children told us the exact number, how many trillion. 37.2 trillion cells. Okay. Now we had said that within this body, within this human body, I had said there is a spring, there is a lever. In the very raw material of our body, in each cell, I am repeating myself because this is a very important concept of Sri Aurobindo. In the raw material of our body, in the center of each one of these cells is concealed a power of consciousness or a vibratory mode, and we can call it Shakti. That Shakti is lying latent in each cell of our body. And Sri Aurobindo has assured us of the presence of this Supreme Shakti lying latent in each cell of our body. He has assured us of that, as our Vedic rishis have also assured us. And just like in the atom, when the atom is bombarded with energy, you all explained to me, I am not a science student. Somebody said it's fusion, right? Yeah. So Sri Aurobindo has assured the presence of Shakti in each the nucleus of every cell. And he says, just as the atom, when it is bombarded with energy, the atom, what does it do? It releases enormous energy contained in it. We talked about the atom bomb, right? Right, in the morning? Even so, when we tap Shakti, which is all around, and we invite that Shakti to permeate the very cells of our body, where also Shakti is lying latent, then you can even say that the Shakti is sleeping inside. And we invite the Shakti and we allow it to penetrate. Every cell, when bombarded with Shakti, will release the omnipotent Shakti that is latent in each cell. अभी तो सो रही है ना शक्ति in each cell. बट बाहर से शक्ति को हम लोग ने इन्वाइट किया बार बार 5 सेकेंड मैजिक. We invite that Shakti, we allow it to permeate our being, we keep inviting it, and then the omnipotent Shakti will be released, and our body will keep transforming and become younger and younger, healthier and healthier. So now we will again read the same words that we read in the morning. Should we read it together? Almighty powers are shut in nature's cells. A greater destiny waits you in your front. Authors of earth's high change, to you it is given to cross the dangerous spaces of the soul and touch the mighty mother stark awake and meet the omnipotent in this house of flesh and make of life the million-bodied one. So, for a moment, we've read such important words. Let us do 30 seconds of silence so that we are able to allow it to permeate our being. So we can now throw the house open to questions.
Ma'am, my name is Om Soni and I'm from the class 9J. Ma'am, in the first session in the morning, we discussed this light only and the line dangerous spaces of the soul. You told that it will be discussed in the next session. It was just keeping in my mind that what does it mean, like dangerous spaces of soul.
Okay. So, what I have understood of the dangerous spaces of the soul is that the energy in the soul is illimitable. It is so powerful that we can't even imagine. When there is so much power inside the soul, if it is, that is why when the Vedic rishis wrote and they heard the Vedas and they wrote it, it was all written in a very cryptic form. Those who understand the Vedas as just to do havan and things just so that they can propitiate the gods and get the fruits of that, for them that is only the Vedas. But those who had gone to a higher level of consciousness, they could understand that the fire that the Vedas are talking about is here within. And the samhita that the Vedas are talking about putting into the fire, the rice and the ghee and all that, is our own clarified mind, our own, whatever we are doing, whatever we are thinking, whatever we are feeling, our emotions, our thoughts, our actions, they are the samhita that have to be put in. So everything was cryptically written because this knowledge is a dangerous knowledge if it is used wrongly, right? So maybe that is the reason, but now that you've said it, I will definitely go into it deeply, find out what those like MP Panditji, Mother, what have they said about the dangerous spaces of the soul. Without finding that out, I don't want to really say anything.
My name is Shaurya Gupta from class 7G, and I just wanted to ask, what do you think, how much we have progressed, how much we have evolved as human beings as of right now?
How much have we progressed?
Yes, ma'am.
We've made huge progress. We talked about all the fields in which we've progressed. Science, technology, medicine, architecture, education. We've made a lot of progress, but we also discussed what have we remained dwarfed in. We've chosen to remain dwarfed in the field of spirituality. right? We've chosen to remain dwarfed in our consciousness towards nature. We've become so careless about nature that we've reached the point of crisis so far as nature is concerned. How many floods are happening? What all? Why is it happening? Because of our carelessness, because of our lack of love for nature that has given us everything. So we have a long way to go. When we said who is God, we said God is perfect. Are we anywhere close to perfection yet?
No, ma'am.
Nowhere near it, right? So it's a long way to go. Who wrote that? Who wrote those lines? Miles to go before I sleep, right? So we have miles and miles and miles to go. Many lives till we reach perfection. All right?
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, but the minute we become conscious of that road less traveled, the road that very few people take, but because you children are exposed to all this, when you start walking on the road, you take one step and Shakti will take 100 or more steps, right? So at least we know where we are going, okay? And that will hasten our evolution.
Ma'am, as we read right now that Sri Aurobindo said, all life is yoga, right? And yoga here means yog and yog means connecting. So he's saying for us like connect with the God, with the Shakti. But practically if we see right now, the ones who are the wealthiest, the ones who are the happiest, the ones who are the richest, right? They're not connecting with the God, they're not connecting with the Shakti, they're connecting with people. They're connecting with the ones who are on the earth right here. So what more good will they get, or what more good will we get if we start connecting from the God, from the Shakti?
So there are two things that you've said which I'm not sure of. Number one, to think that there is a lot of happiness for those people who have a lot of wealth. Go into their homes. Go and see their lives. Is there real joy? Are their eyes sparkling with joy? So joy is not equally proportionate to wealth. We must clarify that concept clearly at this age. Otherwise, there will be a rush for wealth, and then in the end we will realize, Jeto, this has not given me joy. You know where real joy lies? Real joy lies in progress. When we progress internally as a human being, the joy that you get cannot be measured in terms of money or business or lots of factories and palatial homes. Joy does not reside there. Joy resides here. The nature of the soul is joy. It is called Sat Chit Anand. Satchid Anand. You've heard that word?
Yes, ma'am.
So Anand resides here. And if you connect to that font of Ananda, and if you take a dip in that Ananda with the 5 seconds of magic every now and then, the Ananda that you will experience will be far greater than the Ananda of, I don't want to take any names, but any of those great hastis who are earning a lot. I don't think that really means Ananda. This is Ananda, and to connect to Ananda is. Remember when you've written maybe a beautiful poetry, 4 lines, the joy that you have, because
Yes,
that's a progress you've made. These lines have come out of you and they give you immense joy. That is joy. Yes.
Ma'am,
Yes.
my name is Arif
Ne-
Tiwari and I am from class 7G.
Yes.
Ma'am, my question is that neither energy can be created nor be destroyed according to science. But ma'am, you said that Shakti, you also named one more word.
Creatrix force.
Force. Yes, ma'am. So, according to the phrase of the science, how can we say that it can also be named creatrix force?
Okay. So this creatrix force is also called Adya Shakti. It has always been there. It is not a fresh energy that is being created. What we are learning today in both the sessions is that we can connect to that creatrix force. It is already there. It is there within you. Your soul is nothing but that creatrix force. And that is you who has traveled from life to life to life to life. Who are you? You are that soul, and the soul is the creatrix force. And that force is not being newly generated. It has always been there. Adya Shakti. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is your answer clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, my name is Arna Singh from class 7C. And ma'am, in your last session, you said that God is everywhere. God is sitting within us. So, if God is everywhere and He's sitting in us, so can't we offer the things we offer to God, and we offer those things to ourselves?
Yes. If you can reach that point in your spiritual journey, that you are connecting, when you say ourself, which part of yourself are you connecting to? If you're connecting to the mind, yeah, soul, perfect. That's the most beautiful way of connecting, that you offer to yourself. There are people who, when they sit down and do puja, they're not connecting outside, they're doing puja of their own Atma. Because Atma is God Himself. We recited that mantra, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. When that huge fire, God, became these many sparks, each spark has a potentiality of becoming that full fire. Right? So you can offer to yourself, because you, inside you is the soul which is you. Right? Very good.
So, ma'am, worship of idols is nothing?
No, of course it is everything. When you are worshipping an idol, then you are invoking the God into that idol. Where did we say God is?
Everywhere?
Everywhere. He is also within you. So if in your path, you feel more comfortable looking at an idol and invoking God in it, God is there. He is very much there. Depends on the faith with which you are invoking God in that. If you prefer to worship Him inside you, that is also perfect. So our spirituality has given us so many methods, because we are so varied ourselves. Somebody needs to do it this way, somebody needs to worship the forces, the natural forces. Somebody needs to worship here, somebody needs to worship the idol. All the methods are right. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, Rayyan Kidwai from class 9th B. Ma'am, so in the last session you stated that God loves everybody, and that you denied the theory of karma that suggests that you will be punished for your bad deeds.
I didn't say that you're punished for your bad deeds.
Ma'am, you won't be punished.
You
ma'am.
won't be punished. You will get opportunities through difficult circumstances in life to make that leap of evolution which you've not taken, due to which you made those mistakes. Yes?
Ma'am, there have been countless number of vicious, cold-blooded people who have done horrendous crimes. Ma'am, so in my opinion, I guess that those people will go to hell, ma'am, and karma will do justice.
You
Ma'am,
think
so
when
what
they are doing that crime, they are not suffering? The greatest suffering is when you are doing the crime. You're realizing it inside yourself कि मैं गलत कर रहा हूँ, and there is no way, I can't stop. There's nobody on this earth who doesn't know when he's making a mistake. But there is in him, there isn't that strength, that willpower to choose the right, and then not only choose the right, but follow the right. So when he's doing that, then also he's suffering.
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Ma'am, but I think, ma'am, that God won't like those type of people, ma'am. Like, He will
God loves
surely
everybody.
dislike.
God loves everybody. And He gives us opportunities.
Yes, ma'am.
He gives us opportunities to transform. I told you, God became man so that man may become God, right? Here we are not perfect yet. So when we make mistakes, we do crimes, then God gives us an opportunity. It's not a punishment. All right?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
But there are different viewpoints. If you believe in that heaven and hell, that is right for you. Right? Everybody has a viewpoint, and everybody has a right to follow whatever viewpoint they have.
Ma'am, I am Kumar Samix from class 7F. Ma'am, my question was that, ma'am, in the first session, Ma'am, you told us an example of the soul becoming human. Ma'am, you told that when the soul became matter, it was perfect. So, ma'am, why did we evolve further than that if we were already perfect?
I didn't say that the soul became matter. The soul was planted, that's why I have to do the story of creation with you someday. God, the perfect, became the imperfect. And what did he become? He became the inconscient. When he became the inconscient, because Saransh said, tell the story of creation. God became imperfect, right? He became the inconscient, where there was not even matter. And then he asked all the gods with the small g. Remember, we talked of God with the capital G? And the imperfect, the gods with the small g. So he asked all the gods, hey, there, can you all enter into the inconscient? And can you help the inconscient to evolve? And the god said, na Baba, we are just one personality of you. Till all of you, Purnamada Purnamidam, till all of you doesn't come into the inconscient, this work of the inconscient turning back into conscient, turning back into perfect will not happen. And then God became many. The sparks, we talked about the white sparks, the fire, the sparks, the white sparks, they are God Himself, Purnamada Purnamidam, that entered into the inconscient. And each spark did some bit of evolution by throbbing and pulsating to help the inconscient in evolving. All right?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Vande Mataram, ma'am.
Vande
I'm
Mataram.
Karthik Agarwal from
Yes,
class
Karthik.
8A. And ma'am, I was wondering, ma'am, you talked about a lot about the flame of aspiration, ma'am, the little white sparks in all of us. So, ma'am, can you just explain to me what keeps these white sparks burning, what fuels them, ma'am, and whether they ever get extinguished or... could you just explain?
Very beautiful question. Beautiful.
Thank you.
So these white sparks are God Himself. And again, the same thing, Purnamada Purnamidam. Now, God cannot be extinguished. So it is God Himself. How do we fuel it? Now that God is a flame, and it is called the flame of aspiration. You know the difference between aspiration and desire? I want an ice cream, I want to go for a movie, I want some designer clothes. Desire.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to progress in life. I want to understand this talk. I want to implement it in my life. That's an aspiration. See the difference?
Yes, ma'am.
So this flame of aspiration has to be fueled. Very beautiful word you've used. Fueled. How do we, whenever we fuel a fire, what happens to the fire? It becomes larger and larger and larger.
Yes, ma'am, it grows.
Huh?
Ma'am, it grows.
It grows. And when we do the 5 second of magic many times a day, what are we doing in the 5 second of magic?
Ma'am, we
are
inviting
pouring something, samida, into the fire.
Yes, ma'am.
And if we go on doing it again and again and again and again, what will happen? This fire of aspiration will become bigger and bigger. You see, when Swami Vivekananda's pictures you hear about it, when he would enter into a room, it was like light is entering into a room.
Yes, ma'am.
When Sri Aurobindo, his whole persona was light, because the fire had become so large that light was emanating from his body. When he left his body on the 5th of December, for 5 days, his body was not kept on ice. And there were lakhs of visitors from all over the world who were coming to do darshan of his body. His body did not deteriorate. 5 days. It is written down. 5 days his body did not deteriorate because he had made the fire so huge by fueling it and fueling it and fueling it. Your name, Karthik.
Yes, ma'am.
Very beautiful question, and thank you for giving me the word fuel the fire. Thank you.
Thank you,
Very
ma'am.
nice. How do we fuel the fire? By offering to the fire whatever I'm thinking, whatever I'm feeling, whatever I'm doing. Only 3 things we can do. We have a cognitive ability,
Yes,
which makes us think. We have an affective ability, which makes us feel emotions. And we have a cognitive ability, which makes us do. All these three, if we keep fueling the fire with them, then the fire becomes larger and larger. It envelopes the whole being, and everything in the being starts getting transformed. The physical body becomes healthier, stronger, agile, supple, beautiful. The vital emotions become wider and vaster, deeper, and the mind becomes still and clear. Only when we go on fueling the fire.
Ma'am, my name is Amol Agarwal of 7G. And my question is like, how did the flame of aspiration get created? Like, how was it born?
How was it born? So, our God has been called Swayambhu. You know the word Swayambhu? That which was not born, that which was always, Adya. It was always there. God was always there. And that God who is Swayambhu, who was not born, he became many. And these little sparks, which each one of us is a spark here. Imagine how many gods in potentiality are here right now. If you are able to look at people and connect with their Atma, connect with their soul. So God was not born, God was always there. He is called Swayambhu, or born out of himself. So he is never born, he was always there. And he became these many sparks which entered into the inconscient and did the work of aspiration and evolution. All right?
Okay, ma'am.
We must do a minute of silence in which we invoke gratitude. Gratitude for all that we are discussing, talking, hearing, understanding.